Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis, and to today's video. Today is going to be a my thoughts on, and I want to take a look at the new Age of Sigmar Soul Wars announcement. Now, this is going up on pre-order June 16th for release June 30th, and that is the official release date for Age of Sigmar 2nd Edition. So, it won't be available for you to pre-order at the time this video goes live, but hopefully this should get you a little bit more hyped up. And can I just say, before we dive into the whole reviews and looking over an analysis type of thing, the community and its response toward AoS 2 has been truly kind of heartwarming. It's been great to see. Sometimes we as a community, both the creators and viewers, tweeters, bloggers, redditors, etc., we kind of can jump on the back of things and be very, very negative before they've come out. That, as far as I can see, and the people I follow and the people who respond to the people I follow, have been overwhelmingly, if not hyped, at the very least optimistic toward Age of Sigmar 2nd Edition. It's been really great to see, and yeah, I'm just really, really looking forward to this edition, and I hope that the community vibe continues going forward into the new edition. It's been really great, and I hope that continues. Anyway, I will spare you the soppy stuff and all of that. If you do want to know more of our thoughts on AoS 2 as an edition, then go and check out the community discussion we did last week. I'll leave that in the description for you below. Anyway, without any further ado, let's dive in. So, Soul Wars. This is the new Age of Sigmar boxed game for the 2nd edition. It's going to pit the Stormcast Eternal's Sacrosanct Chamber, the wizards, the engineers, and all of that sort of thing, against the Nighthaunt, evil, twisted souls in life, raised by Nagash and punished again. Oh, it's so much fun. And as far as I'm aware from speaking to some people, that model's going to exist. If not in model, at the very least in fluff, that giant flying goat-headed thing is going to exist, and so hope that gets a model. So the box set itself, I realise my screen lags really, really hard, so I'll skip straight past that. Models, you can see here we've got the Sacrosanct Chamber with their Evocators, Sequitors, Lord Arcanum, the Castigators, the Knight Incantor, and the Celestial Ballista. Against the Nighthaunt, there's a Mounted Knight of Shrouds, a Lord Executioner, Guardian of Souls, a bunch of Trainer Asp Hordes, Grimghast Reapers, and some Stalker things. I can never quite remember what they're called, so I just call them the Ghosts of Remlace because that's what they kind of look like to me. Anywho. And we also know that they're going to be entirely push fit. Now, that's a minor detail for some people, but for those of us who either suck at gluing or are new to the hobby, this is great because it means that everyone's going to be very easy to assemble and potentially will be easier to convert, although I found that if they're put together a certain way, push-fit models are actually harder to convert. It kind of depends on how the exact frames are structured, so we'll see about that. So you get to see a Nighthaunt frame there, there's a bit of Guardian of Souls on there, there's a bit of Knight of Shrouds on there, the Spirit Torment's on there. I forgot to mention Spirit Torment, that's a thing. And going on, so we get a full look at the armies themselves. So there's the Stormcast Eternals for you. At the top you have a Lord Arcanum, which we've seen before. I've covered it, I think, in a video on AoS 2 before. And, oh, this model is gorgeous. I want it so bad. You've also got the Sequitors, the Knight Incantor. I've said it already. But underneath there's actually a little bit of flavor text, although it's not entirely flavor text. So the Lord Arcanum can resurrect Stormcast, which is really, really interesting. So they're going to have resurrection abilities. So we'll see whether that's only in Sacrosanct or goes a bit wider. The Knight Incantor, we've seen their War Scroll. They are quite good at blocking magics. They have what fantasy players would know as a Dispel Scroll. They can auto-unbind. They have their Flasks, so they can do a little explosion around them and do some mortal wounds. And they also have a spell, which is a nice little blast. Deal a mortal wound to units around them and also make it harder for them to move. It's a really nasty War Scroll. I have to see how many points it comes to. We have 3 Evocators. We've also seen their War Scroll. These guys are relatively tough, so they reroll parts of their saves against shooting attacks, and they do mortal wounds in melee, as well as having a spell, and it's their only spell, that can buff up friendly Sacrosanct or Redeemer units. Now, We don't know if the War Scrolls are getting a rework, but the only Redeemer unit right now is Liberators. Just pointing that out there. We then have the Castigators, or as I have a tendency to call them, the Noob Tubes, because, well, look at those crossbows, they look like Noob Tubes, so I'm calling them that. So they fire like bomb crossbows, that'll be interesting. We haven't seen their War Scroll. We have the Sequitors, who have the ability to, they're slightly better Liberators baseline, and then can buff themselves up without any magic or anything like that to do even more shenanigans. And, excuse me, they're not exactly pure insane, but they are quite good. And from what I've heard, it's not about the individual models in these armies. It's much more about synergy and combos that's going to make these armies good. The units alone are kind of meh, but together they do some really nasty things. The Celestial Ballista being a classic example. It fires one 36-inch range shot that hits on 3s, or 4 shots that hit on 5s, admittedly they all turn into D6 hits. But it's not insane until you start stacking some buffs on it. We haven't seen the full range yet, so I don't know how much it's going to be, but that's what I've heard from speaking to some people who've been and seen AoS 2 already. Synergy is going to be important, and it's going to come to 800 and something points, give or take, per side. Then we have the Nighthaunt, the Knight of Shrouds, Lord Executioner, Guardian of Souls, Spirit Torment, the Reapers, the Stalkers, and the Chain Rats. What are they called? Glaive Wraith Stalkers. Sorry, I always forget their name. So, Life Force Stealers, the Lord Executioner, we've seen the War Scrolls, good against heroes, Guardian of Souls, buff stuff, which is nasty, Spirit Torment, does a bit of does some good healing and mortal wounds. Grimghast Reapers, don't know. Glaive Wraith Stalkers, don't know. Chain Rats, basically just kind of average like skeletons, although perhaps worse than skeletons in some way. But, as we've said already, synergy is going to be what makes them good. You'll also get a start here, so a basic introduction to the game. The Battle for Glimsforge, which is the city in Shaiish. Those who read the Malign Portent stories might recognise the name, I certainly do. And then the core rulebook, which is 320 pages, but we'll get to that. Also measuring sticks and dice, usual stuff. You get a look at the new War Scrolls. They actually look really, really nice. I've seen them up close. And then the rulebook itself. So, Age of Sigmar's gone and followed the 40k formula, where you get one massive rulebook that's got everything in it, and it's 320 pages. Now, most of it is fluff, and that's amazing, straight up. More than half the book is fluff, and the core rules are a little less than 20 pages, so it's gone from 4-ish to a little less than 20. So it's a big step up in the amount of complexity that's gone into the game, but being able to play the basics of the game has not changed. The basic fundamental mechanics of the game is basically, broadly, the same. So you get a huge amount of lore, some gorgeous artwork. I think that's Shaman, but I wouldn't want to be sure. Huge amounts of lore. That's a bit of lore in the realm of life. The Nighthaunt faction focus. And then we get a little bit of stuff about what's going on in the rules. If you want to see my fuller, longer form thoughts on this, I did review this stuff in a stream, which you can watch on my channel, that's in the live streams playlist. And I got much more in depth with this, and I'll admit I got very, very carried away. I'm trying to be a bit more analytical for the sake of this video. So, in the rules section, we get Realm of Battle rules. So, they're expanding on allowing you to play games within specific mortal realms. This is not technically new because it was in the General's Handbook 2017, but it is an expansion on it because instead of getting most of them on 2 pages, now each realm gets 1 page each. An open war battle plan generator, so the open war cards in table form? Maybe, we're not sure yet. A guide to all sorts of narrative play games. So sieges are making their return, as are narrative campaign inspirations, but they're also adding more things. We'll see some of them in the General's Handbook, which we'll get to later. But for the rulebook itself, subterranean warfare. Oh yes. Oh yes. Subterranean warfare is fun. Because this is what I think AoS 2 has actually done so well. It's fused the narrative and the thematics of the game with the rules. A lot of the rules that we've seen previewed over the previous couple of weeks have been thematic. They make sense. They're not necessarily the most balanced rules in the game. We don't know. We'll need to wait till we get the book. But they're thematic, they're logical, and they're fun. And I think that this is hopefully going to be, the incentive to push people to look at open and narrative play. Because that's what AoS does so well. Its match play is there, and it's good, but it also does the open and narrative stuff so well with things like Triumph and Treachery. They're adding in large battle game modes, which is a little bit lower down. We'll be getting into, they've got the skirmish game mode, though that's kind of a separate entity, and all sorts of other thematic things that it can do. And this is what AoS, I think, does better than Warhammer 40,000. 40k does a lot of things well. It's probably the better tournament game, though we'll wait and see after AoS 2 comes out. 40k is probably the better game for tournaments because you can do a lot more powerful synergy combos and pulling things together to do really good stuff. There's a lot of tactical depth to 40k that AoS might not have the same way. It might be a different flavour of tactical depth. But AoS's narrative and the way the narrative and the game and the gameplay fuse together is a lot better. At least that's how I feel about it, reading these previews, reading the faction focuses. I think the game really pushes its narrative through its gameplay. It's good storytelling. It's storytelling through gameplay, and it pushes you to do that far better than I think 40k does. Is it the better game? Different debate, need to wait for it to come out, and it's going to be entirely subjective. But in terms of pushing narrative, I think it might be better. We also get some match play battle plans and battle strategies. Now, I think these are going to be discount tactical objectives. We're not sure. But if they reward quick thinking and flexibility and stop AoS games being a steamroll of camp the middle of the board, win the game, I'm on board. Because there are some missions where big armies that are tough, like Nurgle or Death, just get to the middle of the board, cap 2 objectives in the middle of the board, have something stack on home base, and they're basically unmovable, and you just lose. That does suck. So hopefully more flexibility is good, and hopefully it will help to minimize the power of fast armies getting double turn and just running you over on turn 2, because that happens a lot as well. So it could be just tacked on crappy tactical objectives, but I hope it adds some more flair and flexibility than that. There's an example of some of the realms of battle. You can't really zoom in on these. They're not really in a good way to be zoomed in on. Malign Sorcery. Oh, this is the one that's got my evil little magic hands rubbing together in glee. This is the Magic Gone Nuts expansion. This is Storm of Magic, Age of Sigmar edition. And it promises to be utterly bonkers. Utterly bonkers. So, we know that endless spells are a thing. However, they are only a thing in this expansion, and you cannot force anybody to play it. TOs, tournament organisers, might choose to use these rules, but you, in friendly games, will have to ask, and gentleman's agreement, for want of a better word, with your opponent, do you want to use Malign Sorcery, yes or no? It's that damn game-changing, and that's good. Game-changing expansions are good. So we get a look at 13 of the endless spells. There'll be a couple more, so I think the Balewind Vortex will be an endless spell. To be fair, all of the summonable things, I don't know if the Mage Wrath Throne and the others are still in the game, but if they are, there'll be endless spells as well. So you've got the Purple Sun, the Ravenak, the Ether Void Pendulum. I'm going from the top down here. The Quicksilver Swords, the Maelstrom of Unbinding, it's not its name, but that's what it does. The Chronomantic Cogs, the Emerald Life Swarm, and then a bunch of other really fun things. And again, this flavor text below is not just flavor text. This is what's been really nice about reading this, is they give you little bits of hints about how they're going to function. So the Purple Sun, we've seen its War Scroll, it kills stuff. The Ravenak, we've seen its basic effect, it kills stuff. The Prismatic Palisade is a big flipping wall, it's shooting defense. Ether Void Pendulum, runs in a straight line, kills stuff. Suffocating Gravetide presumably runs around and kills stuff. Umbral Spell Portal teleports spells through it. We've seen that thing's War Scroll as well. That thing looks hilarious. Potentially really, really powerful in Malign Sorcery, but hilarious. The Malevolent Maelstrom that unbinds spells, devours them, then explodes. And does that not sound amazing to you? Some massive energy ball has been thrown up together by this wizard, and they're like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like Kamehameha blasts someone with light energy, and this swirling ball of magic just numbs it and explodes outwards and kills everything around it. Thematics, flavour, narrative, AoS. Ah, yes. Quicksilver Swords, the Burning Head, which is not just a damage dealer, it also hands out buffs. So if you play Blades of Khorne or play against them, you know of Wrathmongers, well, it's like that. Kinda, we think. The Geminids of Ulgaish, which do shenanigans. The Chronomantic Cogs, shenanigans. The Soul Snare Shackles, which could be brutally powerful in locking units down. And then the Emerald Life Swarm, mass healing, could be very, very dangerous. We'll have to see. But we do also know they cost points. I think the most expensive is 80, and that's for one of them that's not listed here. I know there is at least one other, and it's not listed here. But they're about 40, 60 points, 80 max. So they're an interesting kettle of fish. You also get Painting Guys, and I've heard they're push fit. I hope they're push fit, because some of them look like they're bloody annoying to stick together. I'm looking at... Which ones am I looking at for being annoying to assemble? Oh yes, the Geminids. You're going to be annoying to assemble, I could wager. And some of them will be really annoying to paint, thankfully. Painting Guides. You also get some nice magical lore, which is nice. And you also get new skirmish games, Path to Glory games, which is lovely, lovely, lovely. And the magical artifacts. Now, this article makes me think that they're going to live in Malign Sorcery, the artifacts of the realms, because if you missed it, you can choose your army to hail from one of the mortal realms, and you unlock command traits, magic abilities, et al. In doing so. These artifacts are also realm-based, so I believe that they're in the core book as well, or something like that, because, or at least that's what I've heard, they're in the core book, rather than just being in Malign Sorcery, but we'll see. A bunch of pitch battle profiles, and then 2 extra battle plans. Lovely. Then we get the General's Handbook with this gorgeous little front cover, with the Griffhound wielding baby Galmaraz. That was cool. Is it a Griffhound? No, it's not a Griffhound. It has wings. Not sure what that is. 12 more battle plans for matched play. So that's 18 or 20, depending on Malign Sorcery in total. And some really, really fun-looking ones. You can't read them. They're too small even for me to read. But look at the deployment map on the one on the right. Like, it's got bloody... It's like a flipping statistics puzzle. It's like, how do you get from A to B by the minimum route possible? Shout out anybody who do AS level statistics. You know my pain. Anyway, these look really interesting, and I'm hoping that they're going to have a lot of variety to match play, and hopefully we'll be able to take some of these battle plans and take them into open play and add a spin on them. And that's what I really hope the games decide to do, is that they can take out the match play stuff into open play and have more fun. Battle plan generators and aerial battles. Aerial battles. Yes. Yes. Battles in the sky that affect the battlefield below, played on 2 separate boards. Yes. Or having it placed up in the high atmosphere, and only the highest buildings and mountaintops are where your units can stand, and everything with flyers just whizzing about the place. Ah, the imagery, the mental imagery of these aerial battles, of sieges, of subterranean warfare, and maybe some other battle plans as well if they do some other stuff. It's inspiring. It inspires me to want to play these games way more than 40k. Like 40k's narrative missions, they're nice to play, but they just kind of feel like normal missions. These really add much more unique flair compared to the narrative missions of 40k, and I really hope that that's the way it goes. That these get pushed, these get played, and I know when I get back and I'm playing AoS 2, I'm playing the flip out of every battle plan my army is compatible with. This one might be a little tricky because I don't have many flying units. In fact, I have absolutely 2, and I haven't built them yet. But never mind. We also have some nice narrative stuff, although it's mentioned up there, and lots of new special rules to allow you to customize your games. Custom games, oh yes, please. This is great. And then Gathering of Might, basically Apocalypse Age of Sigmar edition, where you play absolutely massive games of Age of Sigmar, realm-defining stuff that you're not supposed to use points for according to that page. GW, can you please understand? One does not simply take points out of their warhammers. One does not simply tell people not to use points, particularly when there's no alternative like 40k's power levels. You need to have these point values in the game. Gathering of Might is no exception. Building an Age of Sigmar list, particularly if you're just using everything in your collection, takes 10 minutes, 20 at most. If you're like weighing up options, I build like 2,000 point list in 5 minutes. I can build a 4,000 point list in 10 minutes. I have, by the time I've got Soul Wars, which I am getting, I'll have 6,000 points of Stormcast. I can build anything out of that. Take me no more than half an hour. We don't need much time to prepare for these games. Tiny rants, but please, don't try and tell us we don't need points. Even in narrative, even in open, we will use points because that's how we balance games. Even in open and narrative, that's just the way we roll. Sorry, rant over. But they have said there's streamlined deployment, streamlining combat, which is excellent, legendary traits, artifacts and spells, even more nonsense magic, gifts of the gods. Oh, this sounds so much fun. I'm playing the flip out of this. We also know that a summoning rework is going to be included into the General's Handbook, which is interesting. The summoning rework is going to go into here, as well as the allegiance abilities for all the old armies. Well, all the old armies that had one last time. There's a full list there, with the exception of Soulblight and Nighthaunt, because Soulblight is going to lead into Arbiter Cash, and Nighthaunt is its own thing now. Fine. Yeah, that's fine. Nothing else is missing, so it's not like we're getting subtle hints. Nudge, nudge, there's a Slanesh book coming out in like 2 months. Nudge, nudge. We're not getting that, but maybe. Hopefully they add a couple more faction focus allegiance abilities in there, because there's some armies that could really use them. So, for example, the Gutbuster Ogres, they'd be nice to get one, as an example. Or perhaps, if I go back to Order, is there an Elven faction I could give them? Swift Orc Agents? Might be fun. Swift Orc Agents might be fun. Don't know, we'll see. But that's good to see that they're keeping those updated for the new edition. We also get some new paints. That's cute. And they look quite cool. They do look cool if you're playing Nighthaunt. It's cute. Measuring gauge. Personally don't care, though if you use them, that's adorable. Sorry, I just don't see the point of measuring gauges. Like, we invented the tape measure. We'll just use that. Thank you. Objective markers. Yeah, these look cool. I'm not quite sure how that one on the rocks is going to stand up. But, yeah. Last but not least, dice. So terrain has been slightly reworked. So damned has been debuffed. Mystical has been completely reworked. I think deadly has been slightly buffed, or nerfed, depending on how you think about it. And that's just generally just a nice change. And they've added dice so that you don't pick up the dice used to denote it. I mean, it's nice that that's there, though I hope that the power of terrain isn't such that you need to buy these terrain dice. Hopefully, if you just got like 6 red dice that you just never pick up to roll, you could just plonk, 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 plonk on your terrain pieces. Done. That would work too. We'll see. We then get even more dice. So wound counters that are hard to roll. Now, this might just be me, because I don't own a D20, and I own like 1 D12, but I cannot count the amount of times I have picked up my wound dice rolled them, and had to put them back again because I've just realised, crap, I picked up my wound dice. I've done that. Hands up. I've done that about 500 times. So that's cute. Don't know if I'll buy them, but it's nice to know they exist. And command dice. So you can see which units have run, which units have charged, which units have got Mystic Shield. God damn the amount of times I've forgotten which units got Mystic Shield on it. So thank you, GW, for realising that some people have very bad memories. Guilty as charged. Done it about 50 times. The amount of times I've forgotten Mystic Shield is not funny. Mystic Shield's getting nerfed, but beside the point. Also, that's command point counters probably. Nice to have. I'm not sure what all of them are. So like in cover, Mystic Shield, fled, no, retreated, ran, charged. I'm trying to think what else could be on those dice. Not sure. And then we get some new models on top of Soul Wars. So the Sequitors and the Castigators are getting some easy to build push fit kits, including one that my stream chat insisted on telling me looks like Rogel Dawn. Sure. And we're also getting called for Nighthaunt with the Stalkers and some Mere Morn Banshees. I still hate saying Mere Morn Banshees. God, that's a pain. We're also getting a musician for the Glaive Stalkers, so good. You get a drummer in your Ghost of Ramlays. That's cute. So yeah, that's all fun. And they're not done. We've also had faction focuses for the Nighthaunts and the Stormcast that are in Soul Wars. Not all of them, but many of them. And there's going to be plenty more in the next couple of weeks until the big day, June 30th, and release day. And there you go. That's everything that's involved with Soul Wars and AoS 2's launch day. Everything I've shown you today is coming out on launch. So, Soul Wars, Core Rulebook, General's Handbook, Malign Sorcery, the extra models, the new paints, the new dice, all of that is out on release. Great. No staggered release like Idnet Deepkin, who took like 5 weeks to come out. It was silly how long Idnet Deepkin took to come out, and Daughters of Cain weren't much better. But we're getting it all on release day. That's lovely. And I have to say, I'm biased as a Stormcast player, but Soul Wars looks amazing. The amount of value that's in that box set. 13 units! Like, how many did the old one have? Yeah, so 2 heroes, Liberators, Prosecutors, Paladins, not even a full unit Paladins, counts. Korgrath, Mighty Lord, Blood Scraper, Blood Stoker, Blood Warriors, Blood Reavers. Yeah, so it's 2 extra units on top of before, which is good. Like the Cells Ballista on one side and the extra hero on the other, the Knight of Shrouds in this case. That's a great bonus, so more stuff. The core rulebook has been massively expanded, so that's an even better value proposition. And of course, Battle of Glaive's Forge, the Electro Bit of Law, not going to complain about that. The Blight War one was quite insightful, actually. Great. And honestly, I am super hyped for AoS 2. If you go back and watch that stream, if you can sit through all 2 hours of it, I was super hyper for the AoS 2 release. And I cannot wait to play it. I'm more hyped for this than I was for 40k 8th. I won't lie. 40k 8th was such a drastic change to the game that I was not hesitant, but I was uncertain and I was optimistic but not hyped about it. I wanted to play it, but mainly just to see how it functioned. AoS 2, I know how it's going to function, broadly speaking, because the mechanics are staying the same, and I can just get lost in the hype. I'm trying to be tempered about it, like I'm unsure about summoning, I'm unsure about double turn, and there's a couple of other things that could be horrific in the wrong applications, but there's a lot of fun to be had too, and I cannot wait to play it. So, that's everything. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I know I've gone on for like half an hour, but, well, I like to ramble. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the stuff that's coming out for Soul Wars and for AoS 2 in general? What are you going to be buying? Are you going to wait and see? So, are you going to be buying Malign Sorcery or not? Actually, final piece of advice. Don't all buy Malign Sorcery. Like, one person in your gaming group needs to buy it. Maybe 2, depending on how large your gaming group is. You don't need loads of people to buy it. Just 1 or 2 will do. Just final piece of advice. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And yeah, I genuinely cannot wait for this. I'm hoping to get one more AoS 1 battle report as a sort of final farewell to AoS 1. But once July rolls around, oh boy, there's going to be a lot of AoS 2 battle reports and reviews and things coming your way right here on Tactica Imperialis, and I cannot wait. I hope you can join me for all of those. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and this has been my thoughts on AoS 2 Soul Wars. I'll see you all again. Bye for now.